Now, you got issues with the industry. What's going down with the industry, dog?
The industry is full of a bunch of sucking, dick riding, bending over the desk ass niggas, straight up like that. Whoever don't like it, bring it, nigga. Bring it. I don't give a fuck. Bring it. Bring it, bitch. They got this new breed of rapper that's paying DJs to play their shit.
Right.
And, you know what I'm saying? They sucking the record label executives, and it's like there's too much of that going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let me be me. Let me be the artist that I am and just play my motherfucking music. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now they want you all up under this, you know, sitting at the going to dinner with them and shit like that, and you know, all that favor for a favor shit. I don't get down like that. Look, I give you the music, you give my money. That's it. A lot of the love I had for wanting to be a part of the industry is not there anymore. I don't even associate myself with the industry. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an industry artist. I'm an artist in the industry.
I get a little uncomfortable. I get uncomfortable. Like he said something to me one time, a long time ago. He told me to take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say? Let me move, man, before I do something. You're gonna make me mess up the wedding.
Oh, that's a nice gesture.
Let me get out of no, take me, that's what the guy said.
Turns out DMX had been trying to warn us about Diddy for years. Most people didn't take him seriously, but one person who actually paid attention was 50 Cent. DMX was never afraid to talk about how dark the music industry really is. He once said the industry is full of people who will do anything to get ahead. Sell out, suck up, bend over, whatever it takes. And he wasn't just talking to hear himself. He said he met the devil right there in the industry. And that's how he knew God was real. Because if there wasn't evil, he wouldn't have had to fight so hard to stay strong. He made it clear he wasn't part of the industry. He was in it, but didn't belong to it. That's why nobody could control him. He refused to play by their rules.
What did they do? They sold the company. They invited me into a house and they sold it. Yeah, I am mad. You know what I mean? All right, I'm mad. I feel betrayed, man, but it. You know what I mean? It's a business and I'm gonna carry it like a business. But my music is still my fucking music. And you play on my music, you play on my life. You play on my life, nigga, you're gonna disappear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, things are definitely changing there, man.
Yeah, they got a whole new staff now, so I gotta go in and see what's up.
Now fast forward, and we're seeing things come to light about Diddy. Stuff darker than most of us could have ever imagined. And suddenly, all those wild things DMX was saying, they don't sound so crazy anymore. DMX even once said he turned down deals with Diddy because something felt off. At one point, Diddy had passed on signing DMX. But when he saw that Def Jam was about to offer DMX a big contract, suddenly, Diddy wanted back in, trying to double the offer. X didn't trust it. He'd already heard stories about what was happening behind the scenes at Bad Boy Records.
One thing I respect about him is that at least he told me to my face what he felt. He was like, his voice is too rough, he's not marketable. Maybe 3 weeks later, when he found out I was getting signed for Def Jam, he was like, yo, I'll lace your pockets. I'll double what they gave you and lace your pockets. I'm like,
If you didn't know what I was then, you just pretty much jumped on the bandwagon now.
because if you didn't see the beast that I was then, I'm like, nah, I'm cool.
So it's a legendary story.
Like I told you, we sat down with Diddy, but he knew he wasn't going to sign with Diddy. He knew Diddy wasn't going to sign him. He knew in his mind that Diddy wouldn't want to take on problems right now.
Yayo said that you were supposed to sign the Bad Boy.
Look, they knew I was talented. They just looked at it and was like, I don't want all of the stuff that comes with it. The M stumbled over it, but he didn't know the trouble that came with it. You see what I'm saying? So I was like, yo, nah.
Some say when DMX talked about Diddy Rap, his artists, he just meant financially, like stealing from them. But with everything coming out now, people are starting to wonder, maybe he meant exactly what he said.
Told us about Diddy. DMX was known for talking out about how wicked the industry actually was. He talked about how the industry would basically unalive people because they made more money off of you than alive. One thing that stuck in my mind is the fact that DMX said that he never saw Biggie smile until he passed away. He explained that you would always see happiness in a person's smile or even in their eyes, and he literally didn't ever see that from Biggie until he was in his casket. In the same interview from a long time ago, he talked about how Diddy would rip off his artists and steal their publishing.
I never saw Biggie smile until after he died. And the Hypnotize video came out. The Hypnotize. I was like, oh! Like a smile brings a whole other light to your face. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. I'm really good words, but like it's hard to explain what a smile does for a person. Because you don't just smile with your mouth. You smile with your eyes. Like, you know, like a true smile can be seen even if a person is covering their mouth. Well, you know, Locks got signed before I did. Even though I bought the Locks to our riders, you know, they got signed. They were a safer group. You know, Pop signed them. And it was a blessing and a curse because they were sure they were happy about getting signed first, and they were on the Benjamins and shit was going. But then he made them jiggy and put them in suits and made them write lyrics for him and took all that publishing and like, damn. I'm glad I didn't, you know,
And this isn't the only thing that DMX talked about. He also talked about how there were people in the industry that basically wanted to take you out to dinner and stuff to get a hold of your music. And you cannot tell me that DMX was not talking about Diddy, because the first thing that I thought of is when 50 Cent said that Diddy asked to take him shopping. DMX even explained how some of these artists would sleep with music executives to get up in the industry. And now that we know how Diddy rolls and what he was doing with people's careers, I almost guarantee you the person that DMX was talking about was...
And DMX didn't just call out Diddy. He talked about how some new rappers were doing whatever it took to get signed, stuff that had nothing to do with music. There were rumors about certain artists doing favors for record label execs just to get their songs played. These same allegations have also surrounded Diddy.
Think of it now. He was grooming us. It's kind of like you're signing boy band groups and girl band groups because you like one or two of them and you want to see who's gonna go. It's nothing to you but a tax write-off, but you're really searching for a butt the whole time. So he was looking for my butt, Chopper butt, everybody butt. It wasn't nothing about the music. Was like, yeah, I can, you know, and it took off to be bigger than he ever expected it to be. But Puffy coming up, he was just signing a lot of boys. Usher, it was something he figured out, that R. Kelly figured out, is we can get them away from the parents. If we could get them alone, isolated, you know, then we can get them. Once you get in a butt, it's like, you want us now. What you gonna say? I got video of me in your butt. Like, how can you ever make another record? You dig what I'm saying?
DMX had a whole song called The Industry, where he broke down how fake and messed up it all was. He said, it's not about talent anymore. It's about playing the game. They want to control how you dress, how you act, how you talk, and if you don't fall in line, you're done. But he refused to be fake. He said, I'm not an industry artist. I'm an artist in the industry. And here we are now, in 2025, and everything DMX said back then is starting to look like the truth. He warned us about artists selling their souls. He warned us about the vultures. He warned us about Diddy. And he wasn't the only one.
I go to Diddy parties, which is where people like me step in. To walk motherfuckers out! Cause ain't nobody stopping me when I come. Why would they talk about it? Who is there to go to? Who's gonna fucking help them? What HR department do you know of that works for any of these labels?
Yeah.
When have you ever heard of a sexual harassment suit being publicly acknowledged in the entertainment industry at all? Never. Not in entertainment.
Tupac. Remember that one? That was...
He was the only one.
Yeah.
You saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
No, guilty.
That's why they do it. To make you an example. To remind you what they're willing to do to keep things the way they want them. It's intimidation. Can't go to the authorities. They're all bought and paid for. You could try to get a special prosecutor, but they'll just pay somebody to reassign him to another case.
And instead of listening to DMX, people clowned him. They said he was crazy, addicted, washed up. The media dragged him nonstop. Even when he passed away in 2021, they couldn't help but call him troubled instead of giving him the respect he deserved. Sure, DMX had his issues. He struggled with drugs and had some legal trouble. But one thing he was never accused of was hurting women or children. He never had any serious accusations of predatory behavior, unlike some powerful people in the industry who kept getting richer and more famous. And here's the scary part. There's a strong chance Diddy might be able to walk away.
Gelman, former prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney. David, welcome.
Hey, Mike, good to be here.
So in week 2 of testimony, jurors heard from a dozen witnesses as prosecutors try to prove sex trafficking and racketeering. What are your expectations when court resumes tomorrow?
It's going to be really interesting tomorrow when Diddy's third or fourth assistant takes a stand, and she's going to actually corroborate Kid Cudi's testimony from last week, where he said that Diddy and another associate of his bombed his Porsche years ago at his house. Now, you have to have corroboration about that because nobody can put Diddy there. And in fact, nobody even can say Diddy's the actual one who did it. But if they can say that Diddy or an associate of his did it, then you may have a racketeering charge there. Because right now, as it stands, Mike, nothing, and I mean nothing, is sticking to Diddy.
Diddy's lawyers are trying to make the case that his escapades do not amount to federal crimes. How difficult is that argument?
I think they're doing a fantastic job, honestly. Look, everybody has said, and Diddy's lawyers even said it in their opening statement, Diddy is not a good guy. There's a lot of domestic violence that occurred between him and Cassie in their relationship. However, what we've heard so far from the testimony of Cassie and the other individuals does not amount to the federal charges that he's being charged with right now. I'm not going to say anything that we heard is very good because it's all horrific. However, the state or the government in this particular instance needs to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he conspired to racketeer, to sex traffic, and to promote prostitution. So far, they're falling way behind in this. And I know there's a lot more to go in this trial because they're saying it's going to be about 8 weeks. But the government really better step on the gas because they don't have a lot more time to go.
So the play seems to be maybe admit to a state crime that avoids prison time. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. Look, again, you're hearing about all this domestic violence, but all of that has nothing to do with what Diddy is charged with. There's a possibility, and I'm saying a very strong possibility right now, that Diddy could walk, that he could be spending 4th of July at home having a barbecue.
But rapper? 50 Cent says he's planning to contact President Donald Trump. Why? Because he wants to stop Trump from pardoning Diddy. And this may well change everything for Diddy. Trump shocked everyone Friday during a press conference in the Oval Office with Elon Musk. When asked about Diddy's ongoing federal trial for trafficking and racketeering, Trump said he'd be open to giving him a pardon if he's found guilty. Cent wasted no time reacting. On Instagram, he made it clear he won't let Trump give Diddy a free pass. He wrote, "He said some really bad things about Trump. It's not okay. I'm gonna reach out so he knows how I feel about this guy." Then he posted again, "Donald doesn't take well to disrespect and doesn't forget who chooses to go against him." Earlier in the week, Diddy's former assistant Capricorn Clark testified that Diddy once complained to his manager Chris Lighty about 50 Cent after an MTV event. In an elevator after the show, Diddy said, "I don't like all the back and forth. I like guns." That line didn't go unnoticed. 50 Cent, who was famously shot 9 times in 2000, mocked the comment on Instagram. Speaking of Capricorn Clark, she testified about some absolutely bonkers stuff.
Explosive testimony in the federal sex trafficking trial against Sean Diddy Combs.
Yeah, today jurors heard from Capricorn Clark. She was a former employee of Combs who testified that the music mogul kidnapped and threatened her during her time working for him. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges in the case.
NBC News Entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas is outside the courthouse for us once again in New York City. Chloe, what did Clark say on the stand today?
It was incredibly riveting. She was emotional just a few moments ago. She actually apologized to the judge for crying so much. This is a woman who was a personal assistant for Combs at one point and then held various roles on and off over the course of 14 years. And she talked about this one moment from December 2011 when she says that Combs was furious when he found out that Cassie had been cheating on him with musician Kid Cudi. Remember, Kid Cudi, whose real name is Scott Mescudi, he testified last week. And so now we're getting a fuller picture of her version of what happened in December 2011 when Combs allegedly broke into Kid Cudi's house after he found out that Cassie and Kid Cudi were having this relationship. And she says that Combs showed up to her apartment early in the morning with a gun and kidnapped her, forced her to go with him to break into Kid Cudi's home. And then she said that she stayed back in the car and she called Cassie and warned her what was going on. She also says that later that morning she returned to Sean Combs' house after he had her go and get Cassie and bring her to him. She says that that's when she witnessed Combs violently beat up Cassie and her to the point that she fell to the ground in a fetal position, and that he continued to kick all the way from the front threshold of this mansion to the street. And she says that she was so worried for Cassie's life that she actually called her mother, Regina Ventura, and told her to call 911. But this is slightly different, you guys, than what we heard on the stand from Kid Cudi. Also, when we heard Regina Ventura take the stand, we didn't hear about that call from Capricorn Clark. So, it's really interesting for me to sit in this courtroom and you hear little bits and pieces of these alleged events. And so it's going to be really interesting to hear what the jury eventually thinks in a few weeks. And I also want to point out that it looks like the prosecution might actually be running ahead of schedule, and they may only have just about 4 weeks left of their case before they hand it over to the defense.
And Chloe, who else are we expecting to see on the stand this week?
So today we're expecting to hear from some of the individuals that got to the scene of Kid Cudi's car explosion a few weeks after this alleged kidnapping. Remember, he said last week on the stand that Combs was so angry about his relationship with Cassie going on behind his back that he was behind this Molotov cocktail being put into his Porsche convertible. And we saw pictures of the damage of his Porsche last week. So we're expecting to hear from some of the firefighters and the police officers that were leading this investigation.
And Gene Deal had even more shocking revelations to add to Clark's testimony.
Warren testified against Puffy on Tuesday. You was there, right? How did that go from your point of view?
When Capricorn testified, man, it was heartfelt because, not because she was crying and going through all the pain that Cassie and her went through, and because when you heard her testimony, you found out that she really didn't care for Cassie like that. Their friendship grew. They had grown into a friendship, that she cared more about Diddy because she even wrote him letters that she had a crush on him back in the day. So it was kind of weird hearing all the stuff she was going through. And in my mind, I was thinking that, and knowing who Diddy was, he probably slept with her too. That's what I was thinking. I don't know that to be true. You understand? But what people didn't understand in her testimony, because just like Dawn, that he would fire her, then she'll come back, or she'll go get another job, and then she'll have to come back, or whatever didn't work about, something like that. People don't understand this, bro. And when you look at the situation with all the people that were employed by Diddy and that was in the music world, it's this old proverb, the golden rule. And what's the golden rule? The man with all the gold make all the rules. They think it's 5 times they said. Up in this old abandoned warehouse like. So she was terrified and she was scared and she didn't want to go, but she had to go. And she put Paul Offord on blast. That's the one they used to call Uncle Paulie. She put him on blast like he was some gangster taking her up there. And if she would have been found, and all the polygraphs came up inconclusive, whatever that shit is. It wasn't conclusive that she did anything regarding stealing any of the jewelry or something like that. So it was just a fear tactic with her.
The tension between Diddy and 50 Cent goes way back, almost 20 years. In 2006, 50 Cent dropped a diss track called The Bomb, accusing Diddy of knowing who was behind the murder of rapper Notorious B.I.G. Since then, many people in the know have come out and claimed the same thing.
Big, somebody gonna try to come tonight. And Lil C's, who I hadn't seen all week, Lil C says, Gene, go ahead on with that cop shit. I said, I know one thing, you better get you a GED. You know what that is? A good enough degree, so they don't cheat you out your money like they doing your man right here. And I was talking to about Big, because I had read his whole contract on the plane, because Puff had gave me the briefcase. When he gave me the briefcase, you know, like, he just do some bullshit, hand me the briefcase, and went to first class, and I went to coach in the emergency exit. And I just opened it up, start reading the shit. So I'm saying, because at the end of the contract, Big was begging for his, well, he was asking for his publishing and his marketing back, and Puff was saying in the contract, we'll revisit that at a later date. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just reading this story. I got 6 hours on this plane. I'm gonna go through whatever's in this briefcase.
Somebody told that. Somebody told Puff, Pac gotta die, Big gotta die. And Suge not gonna go to jail. You know, these people plan 25 years in advance. Had Pac and Big still been alive today, come on, brother. You and I both know how strong.
Since then, 50 has roasted Diddy, online nonstop, especially after Diddy's ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura filed a shocking lawsuit accusing him of abuse and disturbing sex parties. And now, 50 is working on a Netflix documentary about the sexual allegations against Diddy. Meanwhile, in court, things got tense. One of Diddy's former assistants, testifying under the name Mia, told jurors she was sexually assaulted by him during the 8 years she worked for him, from 2009 to 2017.
Assistant to Sean Diddy Combs gave emotional testimony today in Combs' and racketeering trial. She claimed Combs sexually assaulted her multiple times, and ABC's Rita Roy has the details.
Celebrity stylist and friend of Cassie Ventura, Deontay Nash, walking into a Manhattan courthouse today, facing more cross-examination from the defense team of Sean Diddy Combs. Nash, who was subpoenaed to testify, detailing multiple instances of alleged violence and control he says he witnessed in Ventura and Combs' relationship. He testified he often saw Ventura bruised up and that he once witnessed Combs beating Ventura. He told jurors Ventura confided in him how Combs pressured her into unwanted sex with male prostitutes, and that he knew her to spend nights with Combs in hotel rooms against her will, including one time on her 29th birthday, when Combs allegedly told her, "I do all this for you, and you can't do this one thing for me," apparently referring to her not wanting to participate in a freak-off. Nash said another time Combs threatened to release sex tapes of Ventura, telling the jury that Ventura said she didn't want to have sex with those guys in the tapes, but she did it because, quote, Puff wanted her to. The defense questioning Nash's recollection about certain incidents, including that alleged bloody. And when Nash testified that Combs controlled everything about Ventura's appearance, defense attorneys suggested it was a business decision rather than an element of coercion. Combs' team has conceded that he was abusive, but that the violence was due to drugs and jealousy, and not about him forcing her into sex. A former assistant of Combs taking the stand under the pseudonym Mia, telling jurors about the times Combs allegedly forced himself onto her sexually. She says working with him was exciting, but chaotic and toxic, talking about multiple instances of alleged violence. Now, Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges against him and has maintained that all sexual encounters were consensual.
Diddy's lawyer, Brian Steele, grilled her on the stand, reading out old texts and social media posts where she seemed affectionate toward him. Prosecutor Maureen Comey called the questioning humiliating and said it might scare other victims from coming forward.
That Diddy actually is being charged with tampering with some of these witnesses and victims before his trial started underneath the RICO charge. And the crazy thing is, what if I tell you that this same past behavior was alleged in Diddy's last criminal trial in the 1999 nightclub incident with J-Lo? They were alleging back in 1999 during that nightclub incident that Diddy was using his entourage to help mess with these witnesses. The one being named was Diddy's bodyguard, Uncle Paulie, who we keep hearing brought up in the current trial as a co-conspirator for a lot of different things that Diddy allegedly has done. And y'all know I'm about to break it all down, so let's get into it. This is the indictment for Diddy's current criminal charge, and as you can see under here, it says that he is being charged with multiple acts of tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant. This is separate from the charge of bribery of a witness that we can assume is when Diddy allegedly paid the hotel security $100,000 to make the video of him beating Cassie disappear. And this is another part in the indictment where it starts dealing some of the intimidation or bribery of a witness. When Diddy's authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in or about late 2023, following public allegations of Combs' crimes, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery, to stay silent and not report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. On phone calls, Combs and other members and associates of the enterprise, among other things, provided these victims and witnesses with false narratives of events in effort to conceal Combs' crimes. Combs caused these calls to be recorded on at least 2 occasions.
Do you think this new development will lead anywhere? Let us know in the comments.